Hello, and welcome to the Legal Marketing Brief, the series where we showcase attorneys from across the country and learn about the strategies they use to market successful practices. I'm John Simpson, CEO of Convert Marketing. Today, we're sitting down with Doug Cohn, a family lawyer based in Bethesda, Maryland. Doug has been assisting families through difficult times since 1985, and in this episode, we learn about why his practice has stood the test of time. We hope you enjoy our discussion with Doug. So, Doug, I'm going to start right from the top. How did you decide to become an attorney?
Well, when I was a younger man and I was an idealist, I wanted to represent unions and working class folks, and I actually did that. Went to law school, did some union work, worked for the ACLU, and then I decided to just go into private practice just to broaden my perspective. And I've been practicing for about 40 years now.
And what initially sparked your interest in practicing with unions and labor law and so forth?
At the time in the 80s, unions were under attack. I come from a union background. All my family, aunts, and my uncles did. So I just wanted to represent their interests, their needs, and that's how I got into it.
And then when you started to transition outside of that type of work and opening up your private practice, were you initially practicing family law?
What happened was I was practicing everything. I was a general practice lawyer up in Vermont doing accidents, doing hammers and nails cases, doing torts, doing wills, trusts, did a few divorces, did them well. When you do something well, those people told their friends, those people told their friends, those people told their friends, and all of a sudden the percentage of my practice that became divorces and custody and family law just got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds like very organic development of the practice. So, now that you've been practicing family law for as long as you have, what is it that keeps you interested in family law?
I love it. Family law is a section of the law because you meet so many people from so many diverse backgrounds. You get to learn about their lives and their profession and their businesses because family law touches every aspect of the law. If someone is on disability, you have to learn about that. If someone is in the military, you have to learn about that. If someone has a dental practice or a general physician practice, you need to learn about that. If someone is a contractor, you need to learn how that works. So it just touches everything. I love it. I love the people. I am seeing people at their worst because going through a divorce is a difficult time, and I do understand that. But I do think that when you help them through that time and you get to know them, it is a fascinating line of work.
Yeah, I could see it being sort of emotionally challenging even for you at times. But when they come out the other end and they're in theoretically a better place, then I'm sure that's rewarding. When you're at your best, Doug, in practicing family law, let's say a divorce case, what would your clients say about you? Sure.
My clients would say that I am focused, that I am a very good listener, that I am an advocate, and that I am empathetic. I think that when you do family law, you have to be empathetic. You have to be a good listener. And I understand that people are going through a time where they are afraid that they will lose everything that they work so hard for. They may lose custody of their children. That's very painful. Divorces are like a death because you married someone for better or for worse. So that you deal with them on a personal level, and I think that they appreciate that, and I do know what the end game is, and the end game is they want to get something out of this, or they don't want to get hurt that much financially, or they want to maintain a relationship with their children. So I don't lose sight of that, what their priorities are.
Yeah, that's a great one. So again, getting a lot of good content here. So, as you said, I mean, divorce is like a death. What advice would you give to somebody that is contemplating divorce but hasn't uh, moved to the point where they've actually contacted counsel?
My advice for most people is you have to have a vision for yourself in 1 year, and in 3 years, and in 5 years. Where do you want to be? If they don't know where they want to go, then it's hard to know what to prioritize. And the second thing that I tell them is lawyers make very expensive therapists. I am their lawyer. Um, this is an emotional time. Lots of times people go through situational depression, situational anxiety. I urge them, if I think that they need it, to seek professional help that will probably be covered by their insurance, because I need them to be focused too.
That's awesome. And um, lawyers are expensive therapists indeed. Uh, yeah, and that's cool. So do you have a referral network of mental health professionals that you will sort of push them in a direction of, or not push, but offer?
Well, I will tell you that my spouse is a couples therapist, so um, I I know what people are going through, and I am very empathetic. So I have a group of people who I think would match well with a certain personality type. I will lead them to that person.
Yeah, yeah, that's a nice thing to have for sure. Well, let me ask you, what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about divorce going into it?
Well, many times when people are going through a divorce, this may be the only time that they have any contact with an attorney. And they want their attorney to be a pit bull or a bulldog. And they think that that is great. And they want to go 60 miles an hour. They want to ram their spouse as hard as they can. Wrong approach. Judges hate that, and that never gets you anywhere. That just gets you in front of a judge. And most times, people do not want a third party that is a judge to make any decisions about their children or their finances. They will lose control if they want to go to trial. So the misconception is people want to go to trial. They want a pit bull. What they really want is to try to resolve everything outside of the court. And I think that attorneys who are competent and who know what they are doing help people not only understand that, but to understand they can get the best outcome if they do settle.
Such good advice. I think while it might feel good for a millisecond to, have your dirty laundry and everything bad about your spouse uh, in open court, the reality is that's not the outcome you want. Right? I mean, yeah, great. Like it sounds great. Like, oh, he's such a jerk, blah, blah, blah. But then it's over with and you don't have the outcome you want. So moving to a point where you're pulling and coming to something that's equitable is in their best interest. One of the questions I always like to ask is how has divorce law over the last 4 or 5 years, what are the trends that are going on there that perhaps weren't going on 10 years ago?
I think the court system is encouraging people to go through mediation. Used to be a voluntary process. Now, in some cases, it is a mandatory process. They ask people to try to resolve things themselves. They have court evaluations for custody. They have people at the court that can help with some of the financial aspects. While most of the divorces in the past, they settled, but it was a much longer process. And I think that at least in Maryland, they are trying to make it easier, smoother, faster, and cheaper.
Do you
Sometimes
think,
it's not cheap, but even though they are trying to make it so.
is this the evolution? So here and I know very little about divorce law, but here in Illinois, I know we're like a no fault state. So is this sort of the natural evolution of making divorces faster, less onerous on all parties involved, including the judicial system? Is that the trend that we're seeing? And why now? Is that just because the number of divorce cases rose during the pandemic, or why are we continuing on this trend?
Well, you hit it on the head. During the pandemic, no one did anything. No one was filing for divorce. After the pandemic ended, there was a flood of divorces. People
Sure.
just had pent up anger, pent up anxiety, and the court system got backlogged, and that's pretty natural. Um, so to go through filing a divorce, and if you want a trial, getting a divorce when there are children, that could take you a good year and a half to 2 years. If you can settle, you can literally get divorced in 1 month.
But another question that I like to ask, is can you tell us about a client outcome that you're particularly proud of?
There have been many, but one that comes to mind is when a mother was seeking custody of her two children. I was the attorney for the dad. So sometimes people file things strategically, and there were protective orders that were filed, that were granted. And so I had to do a lot of digging, a lot of investigation. And it turned out that every time that she filed a protective order, it was when the dad was getting very close to the fact that she was a prescription drug addict. So I had to send out many subpoenas and find out that the mother was getting prescription drugs from various pharmacies. So when we got to the custody proceeding, there was a lot of evidence about that, and the judges saw what was happening, and custody was granted to the dad. And I've been in contact with him for over 20 years now, and these girls are just all grown up. They are happy, and I think that I did the right thing, not only for the dad but for the children too.
So let me ask you a couple questions about the evolution of your practice. So um, tell me about the evolution of your marketing of your practice, because if you've been in private practice for 30 years ish, I'm taking the
Many, 40
okay,
plus.
we'll just
Well,
say
I was the
many.
judge for 7, so right.
Yeah, so roughly, how has your marketing changed over that time?
Well, when you come from a small state in a small town, it's just word of mouth. Used to be people advertised in the yellow pages. They don't do that anymore. So I have a web presence. I think that it's pretty strong, but um, about 50% of my new clients are from the web, and 50% are from previous clients. The more clients that you have, the more referrals you would get. But having a web presence in this day and age, in the place where I practice, where there's 1 million people in the county, total necessity, total.
No, makes sense. And can you share, what has been your best and perhaps your worst marketing spend over the years, and just any advice that you could provide to somebody who's getting going on this journey right now? What are the pitfalls, and what are the things that are sort of worth it?
Well, there's the web and there's the web. I get solicitations all the time from different organizations if they want you to advertise on their church website or their synagogue website or their some other kind of a website. Those tend to be not that worthwhile. I think that advertising where you can get on page one, where you can hit people, where people don't have to search for you for like 10 minutes, because people will tend to phone the first four attorneys on the list. So that if you are one of those four, I think that is a good spend. And the worst spends are the ones where people have to search and go to a specific website and then hit a specific link and then go to someplace else.
Couldn't say it better myself.
All right.
So, Doug, there are a lot of different options out there when it comes to hiring a family lawyer. What makes your approach and your firm a good fit compared to, say, a larger firm?
I have a small firm, and I've been a solo practice for a long time. I think that when someone who is contemplating divorce goes to a big firm and they talk to one of the partners, they will probably be shuffled off to one of the associates, who will do 90% of the time and 90% of the work. I think that when you hire a solo or a small firm, you get hands-on. I want my clients to believe that they are the most important client I have. And I think that is easier in a smaller firm. I can pick and choose my people and my clients, and I believe that you get better service from a small firm or from a solo firm. And I've been doing this for a long time. Still have a passion for it. So I think that I treat my clients with respect. I think that they are heard, and I think they get good, competent representation.